The whole thing started because the government brought in a policy passed by an act of parliament to say that disabled people had to have a better say in what was going on in their community. The Disabled Persons Act of 1995. That made the local city councils throughout the country set up communities that looked after disabled people. The Bristol City one was called BPAC, and that ran from 2006 until about 2015, and then WEIT was formed. It was the same group of people plus some others from WECIL, and they came together and they called it WEIT, which stands for WECIL Access and Integration Team. I joined because prior to my retirement, I used to work at the BBC. I started as a reporter and went on to become a television and radio producer. And so when I became available, everybody wanted me to join all sorts of things. I went along to BPAC as it was then and joined because I knew I would be helping all of my colleagues.
And I think the most enjoyable part for me is getting to learn more about what it actually means to be truly accessible. Even from going on my first couple of projects, I'd already learned so much about disability that I didn't already know. So I learned about different impairments and what actually makes a difference, what is accessible, even things like having different coloured carpets to indicate different areas in a room, which is something I would never have thought of before joining WEIT. So I think that's been quite enjoyable to learn that.
So I'm a PhD student at the University of Bristol, and I was having some issues in the place that I work, which is the Life Sciences building. Despite the fact that it's a very modern building, there are still access issues there. And in trying to fix some of these issues, I managed to get WEIT involved in doing an access audit of the building, which I think has led on to further requests for training for members of staff there. And that has been really great to know that, although I personally have experienced issues, that hopefully by doing the access audit and the further training, that the building will be more accessible for students and staff members to come.
Wow, the WEIT team is amazingly busy. We have so much work going on. I've been involved in so many projects with Bristol City Council, with the National Trust, with private companies, with charities where we're going around doing access work. There's so much going on, and we're changing Bristol and Bristol area for the better. We're making big changes all over the place, which is making it more inclusive for everyone. I was doing some work, which is ongoing, around quiet spaces around Bristol City, which is the idea is to plan some locations around Bristol City that will be designated as a quiet space for neurodivergent people. That's ongoing, so that hasn't been finished yet, but it's great to see these projects coming up and then to see them go through and hopefully see them the end of it and go, oh, that was brilliant, that was a project that I was part of.
Yeah, I think for me, the most satisfying moment is when you're doing an accessibility audit, for example, and the person who's asked for the audit is going around with you and you suggest something and they say, oh, I hadn't thought of that, or like, that's a good idea. And then they're like writing it down, and you know that what you're saying is getting heard and it's getting someone to look at the world differently, to look at the world from a different perspective, and that what you're saying is valued and your views. So it feels like you're really making a difference. But that for me is probably the most satisfying point.
So if we didn't have representation, there wouldn't be any diversity. We'd all be stuck indoors because the built environment is not greatly accessible. It's got a minimal standard. The WEIT team are pushing that to be a better standard, so a higher standard. So if we weren't involved in the discussion and the conversations and going to meetings and having audits and doing this type of work, then the built environment wouldn't change. We'd be stuck in the 1980s. Yeah, but because we are out there doing this work and involved, we're making Bristol an area far better as a friendlier place for everyone. So far more diverse and friendly for everyone.
We are able to highlight where the problems are and point out to the staff in that building what's causing us the problem. So as they learn from our mistakes, they find out what the problems are, and we're then teaching other people. So we're not talking to the converted, we're talking to those who don't really understand and making them aware that it's not a group of people, it's not a group of people moaning. It's a group of people who know what they need to make life easy and would like you to come along with them and share what we want to do.
The advice I would give, if you're thinking about joining WAIT, is to be open to learning about various impairments. So, as well as being part of WAIT and sharing your own experiences of disability, we know that disability is so diverse. And I can honestly say that I have not stopped improving my knowledge, my personal knowledge of disability. I have learned something new in every project I've been involved in, and it's all helped me to understand more about what it means to navigate the world as a disabled person with a range of different impairments. So, my main piece of advice is to be open minded and to be willing to learn.